She stood soaking wet outside the luxury hotel she built, while her own employees told her to wait by the service door. They had no idea the black woman they humiliated was the CEO of the entire empire. But what happened next turned the entire industry upside down. Before we start, leave a comment and indicate which city you are sharing from. And at the end, don't forget to rate this story from 0 to 10. Enjoy the story. The golden chandeliers sparkled, marble floors glistened, and the stairs stabbed. Olivia Morgan stepped into the Grand Lion Hotel's lobby wearing a simple navy dress, worn heels, and a coat damp from the sudden rainstorm outside. She didn't come with an entourage. She didn't flash her wealth. She didn't need to. But the moment she entered, silence fell. Not the admiring kind, the judging kind. The woman at the front desk narrowed her eyes, lips curling with polished contempt. "The service entrance is to the side, miss," she said, before Olivia could even speak. A young white bellhop beside her tried to suppress a wince. "I'm here to check in," Olivia replied calmly, ignoring the stares from passing guests who slowed down to gawk. "And under what name?" the receptionist said sharply, fingers hovering over the keyboard, clearly expecting the name not to exist. "Olivia Morgan." The keyboard clicked. Pause. Then click again. Her eyes darted to the screen. "I'm sorry. We don't have a reservation under that name. Check under Morgan Estates Holdings." Another pause. This time, the receptionist's fingers stopped altogether. Her face stiffened. Her throat moved as she swallowed hard. And yet, pride refused to back down. "Do you have ID?" Olivia slowly pulled a black card and a driver's license from her bag. The woman took them with stiff fingers. The young bellhop, still quiet, stared at the ID, then at Olivia, then back at the screen. His eyes widened slightly. "Ma'am, I'll get the manager," the receptionist stammered. Retreating before the truth became too overwhelming for her facade. Olivia turned to sit and wait, dripping onto their polished floors. Behind her, whispers began. The suite smelled of jasmine and regret. High ceilings, fresh white roses, a welcome platter with strawberries and champagne. Everything the Grand Lion Hotel prided itself on except grace. Olivia sat near the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline. The rain had slowed, but her thoughts hadn't. Her coat still hung near the bathroom, wet and forgotten, just like the manners of the staff downstairs. She hadn't checked her phone yet. No need. She already knew the video had gone viral. There was a knock. It wasn't housekeeping. It was him, the young bellhop. "Come in," she said, turning only slightly. He stepped inside, hat in hand, nervous. "Miss Morgan, his voice cracked. He cleared it. "I mean, Ms. Bennett. I saw what happened downstairs. I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." She looked at him properly now. Thin, early 20s, freckled, humble, scared. "You didn't join them," she said quietly. "No, ma'am. I didn't stop them either." "That takes more courage than you think," she replied. "And you came back. That counts for something." He shifted awkwardly. "You probably don't remember me, but my mom worked here for 16 years. She always said you were different, that you built this place so people like her could be seen. I never thought I'd watch someone try to erase you." Olivia stood, walking to the table. "What's your name?" "Ethan James." She picked up a notebook and began writing. "And what do you want to do, Ethan? For real?" He blinked. "Not this." She smiled. "Then help me fix it. I need eyes and ears. I'm making changes. Silent ones first." His face lit up, but before he could respond, her phone buzzed. 7 million views. The video was everywhere. Tourists, influencers, activists, they all reposted it. A drenched black woman being told to wait outside. A white man smirking. A confrontation on camera. No one knew her name yet, but they would soon. The manager, the front desk staff, Emma from the lounge, and Jason all sat awkwardly around a long glass table. "I don't understand," Jason was saying, voice cracking. "She looked like no offense, but she wasn't dressed." "Exactly," Emma interrupted. It's not like we could have known. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to, said a voice from the doorway. They turned. There she stood. Dry now. Pressed charcoal slacks. Silk blouse. Hair smooth and pulled back. A presence that commanded silence. I didn't say anything, Olivia said, walking in slowly, because I wanted to see what you'd do without knowing who I was. Emma sank into her chair. Jason opened his mouth but couldn't speak. I've walked these halls for 13 years, Olivia continued, from when this place had peeling wallpaper and plastic vases to when it became the most sought-after hotel in Manhattan. And somewhere along the way, some of you forgot that hospitality is not reserved for those who look like you. A man in a gray suit, the regional director, cleared his throat nervously. Miss Morgan, this was a misunderstanding. She raised a hand. It was a culture, and now it's going to change. She turned to Ethan, who stood silently near the door. Starting today, Ethan James is promoted to guest relations supervisor, effective immediately. Ethan's eyes widened. Ma'am, you earned it when you chose truth over comfort. She paused and looked back at Emma and Jason. As for you two, HR will be in touch. You'll remain on suspension until further notice. Depending on the results of the investigation, your employment may be terminated. Emma stood abruptly. You can't do that. You can't just come in here and act like, I'm the CEO? Olivia cut in coolly. I can. Silence fell. The regional director straightened his papers, pretending not to look nervous. Of course, we'll support whatever course of action you deem appropriate. Olivia turned and walked out without another word. A representative from a major platform posts a tweet. The woman humiliated at Grand Lion Hotel today was Olivia Morgan, CEO of Morgan Estates and Bennett Hospitality Group. She owns the hotel. #Justice in the Rain. The post goes viral within minutes. TV networks request interviews. Activist groups post support. Employees from other branches share similar stories. People aren't just angry, they're inspired. Later that night, Olivia sits in her suite once again. Her phone buzzes. A call from her late father's number. It's a saved voicemail. His voice? Calm and warm. Live, remember. You don't always need to fight loud. Just stand long enough, and the ones who tried to step on you will trip over their own arrogance. She listens, then smiles. Outside, the rain has stopped. Tomorrow, the sun will rise, and so will she. Olivia picked up a sleek black folder and opened it on the table. Inside, a 3-phase diversity and inclusion restructuring program. Phase 1, mandatory retraining for every employee, from janitors to executives. Cultural humility, anti-bias simulations, scenario training. Phase 2, anonymous reporting portal with protections and financial incentives for whistleblowers. Phase 3, staff reevaluation. Every promotion and bonus will now factor behavior and inclusion, not just performance. I'm not asking for a vote, Olivia said. This begins today. But the PR implications, one board member tried, are already a firestorm, and the only way through fire is forward. She snapped. Silence. Also, she added, from this day forward, all internal promotions and recognitions must be reviewed by a rotating committee that includes junior staff representatives. The room stirred. Olivia turned to Ethan. He will help lead it. Ethan's eyes widened. Shocked. Olivia didn't blink. Courage needs to be recognized, or this culture will keep rewarding fear. Hours later, Olivia stood in front of a press podium flanked by Ethan, her legal team, and representatives from the staff. Cameras flashed. Reporters leaned forward. Today, she began, Morgan Estates is not proud of what happened, but we are proud to face it head-on. She spoke of justice, reform, redemption, and resilience. She did not offer excuses. She offered change. Her final words rang out across newsrooms, blogs, and social media timelines worldwide. Disrespect is not a policy problem. It's a people problem. But when people change, policy must follow. We are building a future where everyone belongs, from the doorman to the owner, and no one waits in the rain again. By evening, Emma and Jason's terminations were trending. Hashtag not in my lobby. Hashtag Olivia owns it. Hashtag Zoe in the rain. Meanwhile, Ethan's story, of a bellhop who stood up and was promoted, went viral on LinkedIn. Thousands of resumes flooded in from people inspired by the shift. Industry insiders called Olivia's stance historic. But Olivia didn't care about the headlines. She cared about what came next. That night, Olivia sat on the hotel rooftop, a cup of tea in hand. The city lights blinked below. Somewhere, thunder rolled. She looked up. The storm was finally behind her. But her mission was only beginning. Because justice wasn't a destination. It was a daily decision. And she had just made hers. It was just after 12:30 a.m. The Grand Lion's lobby was hushed, draped in golden light and shadow. Most guests were asleep. The night concierge, Lillian, barely glanced up from her desk until the automatic doors swished open. A child stood there, no adult in sight, about 6 or 7, drenched, shivering, holding a plastic suitcase twice his size, his shoes squished with every step. He walked up to the desk, face pale, lips trembling, and whispered, "I need to see Miss Olivia Morgan." Lillian blinked, confused. "Honey, are you lost? Where are your parents?" The boy shook his head. "She's my mother." Silence. A lie? A delusion? A prank? Lillian wasn't sure. But the kid was scared and determined. "Wait right here," she said softly, grabbing the phone. Olivia had just finished reviewing the next day's staff overhaul plan when her phone buzzed. "Urgent. Child claims to be your son." She stared at the message, confused, frozen. Seconds later, another message followed. Name, Noah, age 7. Found alone in the lobby. Wet. Says you're his mom. Olivia's heart stuttered. Noah. She hadn't heard that name in years. She rushed downstairs. When she stepped into the lobby, the boy turned instantly, as if he'd been waiting for her all his life. "Miss Olivia?" he asked, his voice thin but expectant. "Yes," she replied slowly. "I'm Noah. My dad said to find you if anything happened." "Who's your dad?" "Ezekiel Bennett." The air left her lungs. Ezekiel, a name she had tried for years to forget. He had been her first love, her secret heartbreak, the man she almost married. Until the betrayal. Until he disappeared without a word, taking their unborn future with him. She had no idea he'd had a child, let alone that he'd ever said her name to him. She knelt slowly, eye level with the boy. "Where is your father, Noah?" Noah's eyes brimmed. He didn't wake up. I think he's gone." Olivia brought Noah upstairs, dried him off, and wrapped him in a robe 3 sizes too big. He clutched the suitcase like a lifeline. Inside, a letter. "Olivia, if you're reading this, it means I failed. His mother died 2 years ago. I never told you because I didn't want to drag you back into my mess. But now I have no choice. Noah is yours to protect. He's not just my son. He's ours." Olivia's vision blurred. "No," she whispered. Noah looked up from the sofa. Did he say something bad?" She knelt again, took his small hand in hers. "No, he said something brave. Something that means you're not alone anymore." At 2 a.m., Ethan James returned to the hotel to drop off keycards for a press team. He paused when he saw Olivia seated with a child asleep on her lap. "Is everything okay?" he asked quietly. She nodded, though her voice trembled. "I've inherited more than a company, it seems," she explained. Ethan listened, stunned. "What will you do?" he finally asked. "I don't know," she admitted. "But I won't let him fall through the cracks the way I once did." As dawn approached, Olivia placed Noah in a guest suite, watching him sleep. But as she turned to leave, he murmured, half asleep. "He said they're coming for you. The ones who hate you. He said to be careful." Her blood chilled. Who, Noah? But he was already drifting back into sleep. Back in her office, Olivia opened an old folder from her locked drawer. Inside, photos of Ezekiel, their younger days, and one document sealed. She hesitated, then tore it open. Inside, a name, Benedict Duran, her former rival, the same man who tried to sabotage her first hotel deal 15 years ago, the same man she'd once accused of threatening her life. And now he had returned. Benedict Duran. Olivia hadn't spoken that name in 15 years. But there it was, in ink, in a signature, in a paper trail too perfect to ignore. She stared at the documents Ezekiel left behind. According to the notarized agreement, Benedict had been quietly funneling money into Morgan Estates through shell investors for over 2 years. And 2 weeks ago, he legally purchased a 14% stake in the parent company of Bennett Hospitality Group, enough to earn a seat at the table. A seat in her boardroom. Her hand trembled. By 9 a.m., Olivia stood before her executive assistant, jaw set. "Summon the legal team," she said. "And I want Ethan in the room." "What's this about?" her assistant asked gently. She paused. "A war I thought I won years ago." In a suite 2 floors below, Noah blinked awake to sunshine spilling across the bed. The first thing he did was search for Olivia. He found her in the breakfast lounge, sitting with Ethan and 2 attorneys. Olivia stood as he approached, placing a gentle hand on his shoulder. "Did you sleep okay?" He nodded shyly. "Are you mad at me?" Her heart broke a little. "Never. You didn't ask for this. But we're going to figure it out. Together." He looked down. "Dad said someone bad wanted to hurt you. A man who smiles like he already owns everything." Olivia and Ethan exchanged a look. It had to be Benedict. That afternoon, Olivia stood at the head of the boardroom table. Every member of the executive committee was present, including a chair that had, until this week, remained empty. "I've called this emergency session to notify you that we have a new shareholder," she said calmly. "And a problem." She passed out copies of the investor profile. Gasps. Whispers. Benedict Duran. Tech mogul. Corporate predator. The man once blackballed from the hospitality industry for intimidation tactics, embezzlement, and orchestrating smear campaigns, including one against Olivia herself in her early days. "He's using proxies. At least 3 layered firms," said Gerald, the head of legal. "It's smart, but not invisible." "And what does he want?" asked an older board member. Olivia didn't hesitate. "Me out." That evening, she received a package at her penthouse. No return label. Inside, a silk tie navy blue. The same tie Benedict had worn the day he tried to buy her first hotel out from under her in 2010. Beneath it, a note. "You built an empire. I built the trap. Let's see whose legacy survives." B. Olivia crumpled the note and closed her eyes. But she didn't panic. She planned. Later that night, Ethan knocked gently on her office door. "I've been thinking," he said. "You said you needed people around you who see what others don't." She nodded slowly. "I want to help, not just as your employee. I want to protect what you built." "And what if it gets dangerous?" she asked quietly. Ethan smiled. "Then it means I'm finally doing something important." She saw in him the fire she'd had at 25, the fire Benedict tried to extinguish in her. "Then you're in," she said. Across the city, Benedict Duran stood in a luxury high-rise, sipping whiskey, watching a video loop on repeat. It was the security footage of Olivia walking Noah through the lobby. "So that's your insurance plan," he muttered. He turned to a woman in the shadows. "I want everything on that boy. Birth certificate, DNA, medical records. If he's hers, I want proof. And if he's mine, I want control." The woman nodded and slipped out silently. That night, Olivia tucked Noah into bed. He clutched her hand as he drifted off, whispering, "You feel like home." Tears welled in her eyes. For all her power, all her wealth, all her awards, no words had ever mattered more. But she also knew one thing. Benedict was coming. And this time, she wouldn't just protect her legacy. She would protect her family. Olivia stood motionless, the envelope trembling in her hands. Official court seal, thick parchment, a summons, petition for temporary custody and emergency DNA testing. filed on behalf of Mr. Benedict Duran. He moved fast. Barely 48 hours after Noah arrived, Benedict had filed for custody. Not visitation, not concern, ownership. Her hands clenched. Emergency motion? She scoffed aloud. He wants to prove the boy is his before the world knows he has a soul. Later that afternoon, her legal team gathered around her office table. This is aggressive, said Gerald, but not illegal. He's playing on uncertainty. He claims that Ezekiel named him as potential next of kin and left no proof of parentage. What about the letter Ezekiel wrote me? Olivia asked. It's emotional, but not admissible, said Maureen, head counsel. Unless Ezekiel listed you as guardian in his will, Benedict can demand a test. Olivia turned to Ethan, seated quietly near the end of the table. What would you do? He looked up. You already know who Noah is. The question is, who does the world think he belongs to? Silence. He's my son, Olivia said finally. I don't need blood to know that. But if this goes public, Maureen nodded. You risk headlines, lawsuits, and you open the door for Benedict to spin this into a smear campaign. And if I refuse the test? Olivia asked. He'll use it to claim you're hiding something, which frankly he's betting on. That night, Olivia sat beside Noah in his room. He was drawing airplanes, tiny blue jets on white paper. Can I ask you something? She said softly. He looked up. Sure. Do you know who Benedict Duran is? Noah hesitated. Dad said he's not a good man. What else did he say? Noah stared at his drawing, then whispered, that if something happened to him, and Benedict found me, I might not be safe. Olivia's throat tightened. And how do you feel, being here with me? Noah looked up, honest and unblinking. Safe. 2 days later, Olivia walked into family court flanked by Ethan and her attorneys. Benedict was already there. Trim suit, calm smile, surrounded by photographers. To the public, he was presenting himself as the grieving uncle just trying to honor Ezekiel's dying wish. But to Olivia, he was the serpent in tailored silk. Inside the courtroom, the judge didn't waste time. I have reviewed the emergency petition, she said, and given the lack of formal guardianship, I am approving the request for DNA testing. Gasps from the crowd. Olivia stood poised. Your Honor, I'd like to submit Exhibit A. She handed over a sealed envelope, Ezekiel's final letter. Not as legal proof, but as context. The judge scanned the pages. Her expression didn't soften, but her tone did. This may not change the order, Ms. Morgan, but it will be taken into consideration. Back at the hotel that evening, Olivia locked her office door and sat in silence. The test would be tomorrow. She wasn't afraid of the results. Noah wasn't Benedict's. That much she knew in her bones. But she was afraid of what else might surface. Ezekiel had kept secrets. Why had he never told her he had a child? Why leave everything in mystery? The answer, she feared, was in the one envelope she had never opened. A sealed letter Ezekiel had left with his lawyer, only to be released upon the DNA test. She opened it. Olivia, I lied. Not to hurt you, to protect you. Benedict is not just my cousin. He is Noah's biological father. But he does not deserve to raise him. He never loved the boy's mother. He wanted control, not connection. I adopted Noah after she died. Secretly, because Benedict was trying to bribe his way into custody. I raised Noah as my own, but I always planned to tell you everything. I chose you because you're the only one I trust to love him right. Please, protect him the way no one protected us. Olivia dropped the letter. She couldn't breathe. Noah wasn't Ezekiel's son, and he was Benedict's by blood. But love wasn't in the blood. And now everything had changed. Early next morning, Olivia watched Noah sleep. He had no idea what storm was rising. No idea that the man who'd filed for custody was his real father. She placed her hand gently on his shoulder. She would never let him go. Biology be damned. The room was cold, sterile. Noah sat beside Olivia in the small, white-walled clinic. He swung his legs under the chair while a nurse prepared the swab. Olivia squeezed his hand, her expression calm, though her chest burned with a truth she couldn't say aloud. Not yet. The test took 5 minutes. A cheek swab. No pain. Just the beginning of a battle that would test everything Olivia believed in. As they left the clinic, Benedict stood in the hallway, flanked by lawyers and photographers. His expression was smooth, confident. "Soon we'll have clarity," he said coolly. Olivia didn't answer. She didn't need to. She just walked past him, her hand on Noah's back like a silent shield. 2 days later, the results arrived, delivered in a sealed manila envelope marked confidential. She opened it alone. Result: 98% match, biological father, Benedict Duran. There it was. Undeniable, scientific, simple. But truth was never simple. Because what the papers didn't say was that Benedict hadn't seen Noah a single day in his life. That he hadn't signed a birthday card, hadn't wiped a tear, hadn't once earned the right to call himself a father. Olivia set the papers down. She would not lose him. The next morning, Olivia stood at a press podium outside the courthouse. The world had waited long enough. "Many of you have seen the headlines," she began. "Yes, the DNA test confirmed that Benedict Duran is biologically related to the child in my care. But today I want to talk about what parenthood really means." Reporters leaned forward. Cameras flashed. A father is not just a donor of genes. He's a protector, a listener, presence. And in 7 years, Mr. Duran has been none of those things to Noah. She paused. "I am not Noah's biological mother, but I am the one who held him when he was frightened, who read him bedtime stories this week, who gave him the first sense of safety he's had since his father died." A hush fell over the crowd. She continued, "If Mr. Duran wants to fight for custody in court, he's free to try. But make no mistake, this will not be a trial of DNA. It will be a trial of character. And I am ready." Back at the hotel, Ethan stepped into her office, holding a folder. "You should see this," he said, placing it on her desk. Inside, documents, old court files, sealed settlements, HR reports from a tech firm Benedict had acquired 3 years ago. One word stood out: neglect. Ethan looked serious. "I pulled this from one of his old shell companies. He was briefly guardian to a child in Europe. Didn't even tell the courts when he left the country for 4 months. The child was hospitalized for malnutrition." Olivia's stomach dropped. "If we get this to court, we can crush his claim," Ethan said. "Can we use it legally?" she asked. "With the right subpoena?" "Yes." Olivia nodded slowly. "Then let's bring it forward." That night, she told Noah. They sat on the floor of her suite, playing with airplane models. "Sweetheart," she said gently, "I need to tell you something important." He looked up, curious. "You remember the man from the court?" He nodded. "The one who stares too long." "He's your biological father." Noah blinked. "But he's not. My dad, right?" "No," Olivia said, her voice cracking. "He never was." He crawled into her lap. "You are," he whispered. She held him tight. The following day in court, Benedict's lawyers swaggered in with the DNA results in hand, confident the case was over before it started. But then Olivia's legal team stood and handed the judge a sealed file. "Your Honor," Maureen said, "we are submitting new evidence regarding Mr. Duran's prior history as a guardian." The judge opened the file. Her eyebrows lifted. "This changes things," she said. "We'll need to review this thoroughly." Benedict's smirk faded. "What is this?" he demanded. "Your past," Olivia said coldly. "And you can't outrun it anymore." The media exploded. Headlines read, "DNA doesn't make you a parent. Olivia Morgan strikes back in custody battle. Noah's best interest. Court reconsiders Duran's fitness." Public opinion turned sharply. Benedict stopped granting interviews. Noah remained unaware of the storm, tucked away at the hotel, drawing more planes. By week's end, the judge issued a temporary order: custody to remain with Ms. Morgan until further hearings are complete. Mr. Duran is restricted from any direct contact with the child without court supervision. Olivia exhaled for the first time in days. It wasn't over, but the tide was turning. And with Ethan beside her, Noah under her care, and the public on her side, she knew one thing. She wouldn't just survive this. She'd win. The invitation arrived in a sleek black envelope. No logo, no personal note, just a printed card with a time, a date, and one line in italic silver. Let's end this like adults. Benedict. Olivia stared at it for a long moment. She knew better than to trust Benedict Duran, but something about the message intrigued her. A trap? Most likely, but one she'd walk into with her eyes wide open. Ethan didn't like the idea. He wants to manipulate you, he said. Publicly, privately, any way he can. I know, Olivia replied. But it's time I show him I'm not afraid. She made one request of Ethan. Stay close, stay quiet, and record everything. If he's setting a trap, she said, we'll make sure he steps in first. The dinner was held at a private suite on the top floor of the Rutherford, a luxury hotel Benedict had invested in recently. Olivia arrived in black silk, her hair pinned back, expression unreadable. Benedict met her at the door with practiced charm. You look stunning, he said. She didn't reply. The suite was opulent. Crystal chandeliers, private chef, a long mahogany table set for two. Cameras, she suspected, hidden behind the mirror panels. He poured her wine, sat across from her, smiled like they were old friends instead of legal opponents. Why are we here? Olivia asked evenly. To avoid dragging this through court, he said. It's bad for the brand, bad for the boy. He's not your brand to protect, she snapped. His smile didn't falter. Let's be honest, Olivia. You've done well with him. I can admit that. But legacy matters. And blood wins. You had 7 years to care, she said. You used none of them. That's why I'm here now, he replied. To fix that. Then he leaned in. You give me full guardianship. You keep your career, your empire. I even offer a generous donation to your foundation to smooth the press. And if I don't? He smiled wider. Then I release a video tomorrow. Compilation. You yelling. You slamming a door. Noah flinching. You manufactured that, she said. You can prove that in court. Eventually. But the internet won't wait. And the story won't either. There it was. The trap. Olivia sat still, her pulse rising. She could feel the pressure, the cold calculation in his voice. Then Ethan stepped in. He entered the room slowly from the hallway, phone in hand. Hey Benedict, he said. You forgot your mic was still on. Benedict turned, startled. Ethan held up the device, hit play. His own voice echoed across the room. Then I release a video tomorrow. You yelling. You slamming a door. Noah flinching. Benedict's face dropped. You bugged this room? He hissed. No, Olivia said. You did. We just beat you to the footage. Ethan handed Olivia a flash drive. Time-stamped. Secured. Copies made. Benedict's face twisted in fury. You wouldn't dare release it. Why not? She asked, rising from her chair. This is the part where your legacy bleeds. That night, the clip hit the press. Not the one Benedict made. The one Ethan captured. Within hours, #DinnerTrap trended globally. Commentators flipped. Legal analysts slammed Benedict's tactics. Even his corporate partners began pulling out. The damage was swift and delicious. The next day, Olivia received word from her lawyer. Benedict's legal team filed a motion to withdraw his custody petition. No public apology, just retreat. But that was enough. She had what mattered. Noah. Later that evening, Ethan found Olivia sitting alone in the garden behind the hotel. You okay? He asked. She looked at him, a soft smile forming. I am now. He handed her a small blue paper airplane, one Noah had folded earlier. She unfolded the wing. Inside was scribbled in shaky pencil. I'm glad you found me. Love, Noah. Tears welled in her eyes. Not from pain this time, from peace. The calm didn't last long. Just when Olivia began to rebuild, when Noah started sleeping through the night, and Ethan settled into his new role, an old tactic returned. Smear and sabotage. This time, it came in the form of a forged adoption certificate. It appeared online first. A low-resolution image on an anonymous blog claiming Olivia had bought guardianship of Noah in an illegal private deal, bypassing the courts. Then came the accusations: fake adoption, forged identity, powerful CEO exploits grieving child. By nightfall, 3 major outlets picked up the rumor. By morning, it was global. Noah didn't know, but Olivia felt the ground shift beneath her. Again. In her office, the atmosphere was tense. Her PR advisor paced. Ethan stood by the window with arms folded. Maureen read the article again, eyes narrowed. "It's fake," Olivia said flatly. "We know," Maureen replied, "but proving it publicly will take time." "He's trying to wear me down," Olivia said. "Not just in court. In the public eye." "Then we go bigger," Ethan said. Olivia looked up. "How? You've been fighting him alone. What if you didn't have to anymore?" That afternoon, Olivia entered the Grand Lion lobby, not to check on staff, not to inspect operations, but to gather allies. She called an all-staff meeting, front desk to kitchen, concierge to cleaners. Many had seen the headlines. Many had watched her endure. "I built this place with my own 2 hands," she told them. "But I cannot protect it alone. Not this time." Silence. Then a hand rose. It was Lillian, the night concierge, the same one who first saw Noah enter the hotel. "I was there," she said. "I saw how that child looked at you. That wasn't business. That was trust." Then Mia, from housekeeping, "If they want proof, let us show them who you are." One by one, staff stepped forward. Not lawyers. Not executives. The people who saw her every day. The people who knew her without titles. That night, Ethan uploaded a video. Not polished. Not flashy. Just testimony. Real employees, raw voices. "She showed up on Christmas when my mother was sick. She bought my brother's books so he could finish school. She gave me a second chance when I had nothing." Then Mia. "They say she faked an adoption, but what I saw was a boy who walked in alone, and a woman who never let him go." The video went viral. Within hours, #Olivia's family replaced every negative headline. Even Olivia's harshest critics softened. In court the next morning, Benedict's legal team was noticeably subdued. The judge entered with a thick folder of evidence. Olivia's legal counsel handed over the forged documents' metadata. Ethan had traced the upload to an offshore domain with known ties to a PR firm, one Benedict had used years ago. It was over. Officially. Back at the hotel, Olivia returned to the suite to find Noah waiting with a new drawing, him, her, and Ethan standing under a giant umbrella. He held it out proudly. "You like it?" he asked. "I love it," she said. "Because the umbrella keeps us safe," he explained. She nodded, hugging him close. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, it does." Later that night, she stood alone in the rooftop garden. The sky was finally clear. No clouds. No storm. Just stars. Behind her, the door opened. Ethan stepped out, holding a glass of wine and a quiet smile. "You think it's really over?" he asked. "No," Olivia said. "But for the first time in a long time, I'm not afraid of what comes next." They stood together in silence. Not as boss and employee, but as survivors, as protectors, as family. The ballroom glowed with soft golden light. Hundreds of guests filled the tables. Leaders, entrepreneurs, philanthropists. The National Leadership Summit was in full swing. On stage, a large screen bore Olivia's name in silver lettering. Olivia Morgan, Visionary of the Year. She sat at the head table in a sleek dark suit, hands folded calmly in her lap. Noah sat beside her, dressed in a little gray blazer and clip-on tie. Ethan flanked her other side, still not used to tuxedos, but standing tall. They called her name. Applause thundered across the room. Olivia walked to the stage, heels silent on velvet carpet. She stood behind the podium and looked out at the audience. So many of them had no idea what she had endured. And that's why she was here to tell them. She didn't start with numbers or titles. She started with the rain. I was standing in the rain, waiting to board a plane I owned, she said. And the people I paid to protect my guests treated me like a threat. Her voice didn't tremble. They looked at my skin, my clothes, my silence, and they made their decision. I didn't belong. There were murmurs in the crowd. But what they didn't know was that I wasn't just a passenger. I was the owner of the airline, of the airport, of the hotel they sent me away from. She paused. And I stayed quiet, because I wanted to see what would rise in the silence. What I saw was a culture we've built in business, one where wealth is confused with whiteness and leadership with arrogance. And I decided, then and there, I would not fix the system by asking it to change. I would dismantle it from the inside. A hush fell over the room. And I didn't do it alone, she continued. I did it with a boy who reminded me what trust looks like, with a young man who chose courage over comfort, with a staff who stood up when it was easier to look away. She looked toward Noah, then toward Ethan. And now I stand here not just as a CEO, but as a mother, a fighter, a survivor. And I tell you, this ownership is not about what you possess. It's about what you protect. The crowd erupted in applause, not out of politeness, but reverence. Back at the hotel later that night, Olivia took off her heels and stepped onto the penthouse balcony barefoot. The air was crisp. The stars were bright. Noah was asleep in the next room. Ethan joined her, 2 cups of tea in hand. Well, he said, you've redefined leadership for half the country. She smiled. Maybe now I can get some rest. He looked at her for a long moment. You ever think about what's next? She sipped her tea. I used to think it was more deals, more headlines, more buildings with my name. And now I think it's this. She nodded toward the quiet room behind her. One boy, one hotel, one team of people learning how to be better. Ethan leaned on the railing beside her. I'll stay as long as you'll have me, he said. You'll be running this place before long, she replied. He smiled. Not without you. As dawn broke, the sky turned pale lavender over the city. The storm was long gone, but the lessons it brought, the fight, the fire, the family, it all remained. And standing there in the quiet, barefoot and at peace, Olivia finally understood. She had never just been the owner of a company. She was the owner of a legacy, one built not in boardrooms, but in the rain, where no one thought she belonged, until she made it hers.